What's up, guys? Good morning. It is still morning. It is morning already, I should say. Anyways, wanted to make a quick video. Oxymoron. Nothing I ever say is quick and short. But I'll try and make this one short and sweet. We'll see. So, I wanted to touch on the topic of non-CDL hotshot drivers. In particular, hotshot drivers that want to get into the business but do not have a CDL. And so, yes, there is a market segment for drivers or for equipment that does not require CDL. What it basically is, you have hotshot setups that are at a gross vehicle weight rating of 26,000 pounds or less, combined gross vehicle weight rating. Anyway, and so it does not require a CDL. And so for a lot of people looking to get into this game or this business, they think to themselves, well, that's my ticket. I don't need a CDL. I can go get a job as a non-CDL driver and learn the business. Here's the deal with that. So, I own several tankers, like 20 power units. Some of my power units are now over the road. I have a couple hot shots. I have a couple step decks, a couple flatbeds, and all of my drivers have a CDL. My hot shots are non-CDL, primarily because the law allows, they changed it, but when I set up my hot shots, the law allows for short haul exemption. Back then, for non-CDL, it was 150 miles. And so from where my office is, that let me get to 2 major cities that supplied our area. And so instead of having to get ELDs for pickup trucks that didn't always work as a CDL combination, it just made it easier. So what I would do was, when work would come up for hot shots, is I would grab a tanker driver if I didn't have work for them in the tanker, and I would throw them in the hot shot and say, here, go to Odessa and grab, this quick load. It's a pallet with a valve on it. Sometimes the load was so light you could put it in the back of a pickup truck. But all of my drivers have a CDL. My particular setup had a hydraulic tail on the back, and so I could use it even for picking up an employee whose vehicle broke down on the way to work. We would do that. And because it was a non-CDL setup, I could throw anyone in that truck, even someone from the office, and say, drive this out here. The driver will, load the trailer and secure his own vehicle, and he'll drive back. Just get the combination there. But for the most part, for a commercial application, all my drivers had CDLs. And so if a non-CDL driver comes to me and says, hey, Miguel, I'm looking for a job. I want to be a hotshot driver. Will you train me? So here's the deal. I have money tied up in the equipment. The insurance is pretty expensive. I mean, it's pricey insurance. And it's risky work, especially with hot shotting, because you have to know how to secure all this equipment. And on top of that, hot shots are a target. Let's call it what it is. A friend of mine likes to say, let's call a spade a spade. A hot shot setup is a target for DOT. You're going to get pulled over. You're going to get, even if it's a level 3 where they just check to make sure you have your CDL or are properly licensed, it's going to happen. And so you want me to put you in my truck as a non-CDL driver. And so with that being said, the first thing that's going to cross my mind is, what kind of experience do you have? What have you done in the past? Have you ever operated equipment before? Do you have any experience securing a load? I can't verify that you have any experience driving a truck because you don't have a CDL. And to me, in my mind, you know, if you go through some of these Facebook groups and some of these forums, most of the questions being asked can be found in the CDL handbook that you study to go take your test. So let's think about that for a minute. Most of the questions that are asked in these groups, the answer can be found in that CDL manual. And so now that I repeated myself, hopefully the wheels are spinning. So from my perspective, you have no skin in the game. You haven't dedicated anything of your life to get into this business. If I go apply for a job with anyone in one of these groups, or even some YouTubers, you know, let's just say Hauling Cash or Tow Piglet or any of these guys that have hot shots. I got my CDL in 1987. So I have a Class A with all the endorsements. And when I say all the endorsements, I don't mean just the endorsements. I don't have restrictions. I don't have an automatic only restriction. I don't have a fifth wheel restriction. I don't have air brake restriction. I have the doubles and triples endorsement. I have the hazmat endorsement. I have the tanker endorsement. I have the passenger endorsement. And so I can pretty much legally operate most anything on the highway. If I were to email a potential employer a copy of my MVR, there's 0 points on it. There's nothing on my MVR. No accidents, no tickets, nothing. My 10-year MVR reads end of report. That's what it says, end of report. And so next, what a potential employer would want to do is have me fill out basically a background check to verify my employment. That's where it might get a little tricky for me because, you know, I've owned my own trucking business since 2012, and prior to that, I owned my own equipment rental business 10 years prior to that. And so, you know, since 2002, I've been self-employed. And technically not self-employed, I've been an employee of the companies that I own or am a shareholder in. So that could make it a little tough. But, you know, I could probably produce my shareholder documentation. I could probably show, you know, my previous authorities, and with about 10 minutes of conversation, most people would know, you know, I'm the real deal. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in this business for a long time. And so most of these hotshot companies would hire me. Would it make sense? Probably not. You know, in all reality, for me, if I were to take a job and not be an owner anymore, it would probably make more sense for me to get, you know, either a tanker job or a hazmat job, and make more money and probably be home more. That's just, you know, that's what these endorsements get you. They kind of let you pick and choose what job you take. Unlike having a regular license, no CDL, no endorsement, no anything, you don't get to pick that. It boils down to who will hire you. And so now, let's go back to why I would not hire you. I can't really verify your employment. It's hard to do. And odds are if you don't have a CDL, you probably don't have any employment worth talking about. And so I now have to invest time and money into training you. And if this time is going to include putting you in a truck with another hotshot driver, well, if you paid even a little bit of attention, you'll realize that there's one makeshift bed in the back of the pickup, and no driver's going to share that with you. If he wants to share that with you, you don't want that job anyways. And so what this means is, for me to train you, I'm going to have to put you guys up in a hotel. Again, adding to my expense. And in the end of your training, I have to hope that you even have what it takes. There's people that you train and they're a lost cause. You know, they just should not be driving. And so it's a big investment. I'm going to be paying 2 drivers' salary. My regular driver is going to want more money for the inconvenience of having to train you. And then I'm probably going to have to put one or both of you in a hotel room. So basically, that truck's not going to make me money the time that you're in there being trained. I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose a lot of money. All to hire you. All to give you that opportunity. And now here's the deal. Here's what will most likely happen. I put you on the road with one of my drivers for 2 weeks. And I'm saying this as an example. I don't have hot shots over the road. I don't think hot shotting over the road is a smart business move. I just don't. But let's just say I did. So you're probably going to go out for 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks, I'm going to take a loss on that truck. Then I get you back and my driver says, yeah, he's ready. So now I put you in a truck and you get a month, 2, maybe even 3, and you run into someone at a truck stop and they offer you 2% more than I'm paying you, or 5 cents more a mile, or whatever. Next thing you know, you're quitting on me and my investment was for nothing. And why? Because you, the driver, have no skin in the game. You have nothing invested. You're expecting someone else to invest everything for you to have a job. And so, what's in it for me? Other than spending money for a driver that's probably going to quit. That's already an issue in this industry. Drivers quit. And as a truck owner, as a company owner, that's one of the realities I have to face. Drivers are going to quit. So if you come to me and you've got nothing in terms of a license, to me, you just don't take this business seriously. You haven't taken the decision to become a hotshot driver seriously, and you're looking for a meal ticket on someone else. And I know right now you're thinking, well, you're the boss. You're supposed to put up the money. Yeah, but I'm also the boss. It'd be wiser of me to pick someone that has a CDL, someone that's already made that investment. Even if my rig is a non-CDL, it makes more sense for me to have that, because at the very least at that point, I know you passed a skills test. I know you proved to somebody you could back that truck up and you can safely operate it over the road. On top of that, you passed the written test, which goes over the dimensions of the trucks, the weight capacities, you know, some of your laws, some of your traffic laws, and I'd rather hire that guy. And so you're thinking to yourself, well, that's no fair. How do I, as a non-CDL driver, get into this game? What you're saying to me, Miguel, isn't fair, and I don't think you're very cool for it. It's the reality. You have to understand how expensive it is to insure these vehicles. You know, some of these guys are paying $20,000 a year to insure one truck. Think about that for a minute. $20,000 a year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and one wreck makes that number skyrocket, or that company gets their insurance canceled. And insurance cancellation is one of the toughest things to get by when you need to go buy new insurance. It's like the first thing they check. Have you ever been canceled? And why? So, having said that, you as a non-CDL driver are very difficult to employ. To market yourself, you're going to struggle. Now, advice, I'm not just making this video to beat you up. Advice from me, my part. Go get your learner's permit. It doesn't cost that much money. In my state, I think it costs 35 bucks. Go get your learner's permit. Walk in there, take that test, pass it. And while you're there, take every single test you can. Doubles and triples, tanker, take every single test you can, including hazmat. It'll cost you a little more because you got to do a background test, but take your hazmat also. And come to me with a learner's permit and all the endorsements. Now, at least I think you're intelligent enough to open up that book and take some tests and pass them. Now, somebody else has put you through the rigors of making sure you know a little bit. And if you passed your hazmat, at the very least, myself, I at least now think this man can pick up a book, read, and comprehend and answer some questions. And so to me, that speaks volumes. Still doesn't mean I'm going to turn you loose on my truck, but at the very least, you have that going for you. And you don't have to go to a truck driving school. You don't have to pay anyone money other than paying for taking the test itself. So if you go to an employer and you at the very least have the learner's permit, you could say to the employer, hey, well, while I work for you, I could, you know, sharpen up my skills. And if you have a CDL combination, you know, after I prove to you I can handle this job, let me borrow a truck to go take my test, and I will become a CDL driver for you. Now all of a sudden, you got skin in the game, don't you? There's something worth it for you to stick around, because I'm gonna let you borrow my truck to go get your CDL test. At the same time, you've shown me you have goals and you're trying to accomplish something. And if between here and then I show you I'm a good boss and I'm gonna take care of you, we build a relationship, now I think you're a driver that might stick around. That's my opinion. And so The way I started in this gig is I started working for an equipment rental business. I have an uncle that owned a construction company before that, and I'd go in there on weekends, wash equipment, I'd help the drivers load and unload. They kind of showed me about securement, but then I never drove for them. I wasn't legal to drive, especially not commercially. And so my first job after I turned 18, they rented construction equipment, and it was a local service company. So the other drivers mentored me, how to take on steep hills, how to go down steep grades, how to properly secure loads. I suggest that for you as a driver wanting to start up in this business, go get yourself a job with United Rentals or Hertz or Ahern. They'll teach you a lot. Then you go to an employer and say, I have my learner's permit, I don't have a CDL yet. That employer now realizes you can pass the test, and you explain to them, you drove for one of these companies. That employer is going to know you know about securement, because these companies have manuals on how to secure stuff, where to chain them down, how many chains, how big your chain should be. Now all of a sudden you're employable. Now all of a sudden not having your CDL isn't a roadblock. Yes, it'll make a difference for some people, but you're bringing something to the table. You have a little skin in the game, and you're someone that will be looked upon as trainable. You might be worth that investment. You might be worthwhile. Anything less than that is a crapshoot. And unless you're, a relative or, my biggest client's best friend or something along those lines, what's going to compel me to hire you? And I know that sounds like a jerk statement, and some of you may comment, well, what a jerk. Why don't you give me a shot? Over the road is difficult to give someone a shot. You're trusting someone with your investment and the future of your entire company. You're trusting their judgment to take over the road where, no one's going to see you for the next week or two. And there's no telling what kind of driver you really are over the road. There's no telling what your temperament is like. And so for a business owner, that's a big crapshoot. It's risky. And you're bringing nothing for me to verify that you can handle this. You don't have a CDL. You don't have verifiable experience. You're not bringing anything to the table. That makes it very difficult for someone to hire you. So again, my advice, get your permit at the very minimum. Get all the endorsements you can. It says something to a boss that doesn't have his hazmat because he wasn't able to pass the test, and you show up and you have that endorsement. That speaks volumes. It doesn't mean someone's going to turn you loose on their truck, but it does raise an eyebrow. An employer will say, well, hell, I tried getting my hazmat and I failed. Or they only do it in English and my English isn't so hot. So all of a sudden you show you have something there. If you went and ran for an equipment rental company and they trained you up on securement, that also speaks volumes. These are the things that you should try and put on your resume, or at least have under your belt when you go and apply for a job. Showing up with no experience, no CDL, no industry knowledge makes it very tough. And as an employer, it makes you feel bad, because you're not going to get hired, and it's just a crappy feeling to send someone away, knowing that person's probably going to struggle to get hired, and it's tough, especially considering there's a demand for drivers. There really is. If you look through any of the groups, a lot of people are looking for drivers, but very few are looking for non-CDL, non-experienced drivers. Most are looking for CDL, and they want 2 years experience. And so now you ask, well, how am I going to get 2 years experience if no one will hire me? Again, go work for an equipment rental company. They'll hire you as a non-CDL driver, and you'll probably start off in a pickup truck, delivering hand tools out of the back of the pickup truck. But once you show them you got the customer service part down, you're friendly, you're reliable, you're good to the clients, they'll start training you up into other equipment. Next thing you know, you'll be towing a little trailer, still non-CDL. And once you show you can handle that, they'll probably put you in a little rollback, kind of like what tow truck companies use. And while driving that rollback, you'll start towing little trailers behind it, again, still non-CDL. Then, if you go out and get your permit, and you go show your boss, hey boss, I got my permit for my Class A, if given the chance, I'd like to get it. Now your boss is going to look at that and say, crap, when I try to promote from within and get drivers to do it, I struggle to get them to even pass the permit part. And here this driver went out and did it on his own. He took the initiative. That's the key. He took the initiative, he got his permit, he's ready to go, he does a good job, he's good with the clients. Yeah, let's throw him behind the wheel of a big truck and put him in with my senior driver and just see what the senior driver says. Does he have aptitude? Does he have what it takes? And if that driver comes back and says, yeah, I can train him, next thing you know, you're getting a CDL paid for by someone else, and you're going to have, most importantly, verifiable experience. You're going to have verifiable experience with a company like United, Ahern, Hertz, RSE, any of these major companies. And a lot of these hotshot guys know who these companies are, and they'll hire you. They'll hire you at that point. You've got credentials. You've got experience. That's the key. It doesn't come from one day to the next. Someone's not going to hire you because you saw a video on YouTube and you believe these drivers are making a great living and it's cool because you get to travel all over the country. You think someone's going to hire you and you're going to start making, $1,000 to $1,500 a week. That's a long ways off. Yes, it's possible for some to do it. Most of your non-CDL drivers, the way they make a good living is they have to go out and buy their own. Again, goes back to skin in the game. Buy your own, and then you can do whatever you want. Go become a driver, it's hard to hire you. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. I know I said I'd make it quick, and it's not quick. It's not quick at all, my apologies. But that's my advice to your non-CDL guy that wants to get into this. Anyways, thanks for watching.